look, sounds awesome. Okay, but I want to do some more of that, and I'll do some more of this here. But let's go ahead and talk about this. Okay, I haven't seen anyone really do much discussion on the developer Q&A, and so what I want to do is I want to go through these. I've got some notes that I took. Where are my notes? Yep, I've got some notes here, and what I want to do is go through and talk about what they're really saying, because a lot of what they said, I feel like is, I don't know, just mixed in, like, not necessarily subterfuge, but they're not going to give us everything that we need to know or everything that we want. And that makes sense. And personally, I'm okay with that, because I like the mystery, you know, and really my channel is all about, you know, conspiracy or theory around what's coming out next. And so it makes sense for me to want this. But welcome, Alexander. But like, there's a lot of stuff here, and I kind of want to break it all down and talk about what they're really saying. So first and foremost, what they've done here is they've broken it down into different categories that they're going to be talking about. We've got general, random crap, economy, content, relics, quality of life, and mechanics. And there's a ton that they talk about. With each of these posts, the devs really do, they answer a lot of questions that players have, that the fans have, and it's cool that they take the time to do this. Now, I do like that they do this. I wish they would be a little more forthcoming in the forum posts. I mean, this is the first time we've heard from them in like weeks, you know, except to say, hey, there's a there's a new thing, or there's this, or there's that. We haven't really heard much from the devs in a while, and so this is really cool. And they do tell us a lot, which I'm excited about. Is that any better, Grayson? I'm turning it up. Every time I say turn it up, I think of that song, the hand clap. They can make your hand clap. Right? But I gotta say that there's a lot of stuff in this. Now, for those of you... Did that help any? For those of you who may not know, I am a huge Hondo fan. And they actually were able... They addressed my question. It was so cool. I was so happy to see it, because I was going through and like I was like, there's no way that they're going to answer this, because the question that I posed was, when are we getting, you know, parentheses, insert blank character here, close parentheses, into the game, question mark. And then I, you know, underlined it, or next I was like, all right, really though? Or I said, seriously though, Hondo, right? And what is absolutely awesome about this, what is the coolest thing that I've been wanting to say since the day that I was able to visit Capital Games, and they said it in the forum post. I got a screenshot of it, and it was so freaking cool, and I'll get to that in a minute. But Hondo's on his way. When is he coming? They didn't say, and they're not going to say, and I get that. But it's, I should go live more often. I know. I've been thinking about doing other games and other stuff, but I definitely should. But Hondo's coming. And I'll talk about what they said in the actual discussion here in a moment. But let's just jump into it, okay? So I won't go over all of them, but just kind of the ones that really stuck out to me. But if you guys have questions, if you have thoughts, if you have, you know, whatever, hit me, right? You know, they ask a ton of questions. Let's see, where was it? Implement new and different game modes. I love this question, and it's something that I am... I do have it on Xbox. And I have fiddled with my audio, so hopefully it's a lot better. Let's see. I think they've changed some of the stuff since I looked at it last. You mentioned the last QA you were working on features to help new players grow quicker and reach end game faster. Any more on this? And they're like, look, we're working on it. You know, we're adding more stuff. We don't have more to tell you yet, but in November. Now, and remember, November is. I mean, we've had some Q&As, we've had some road aheads or some whatever they call those middle ones, but the big one is coming in November, and they're going to drop a ton of information, and expect to see like half this. I say half the stuff. Expect to see a lot of the stuff they talk about here. So really, what it sounds like their goal is to get players from beginner level to end game without as much fuss, right? And that's definitely the overall feeling I got from this. They're doing a lot of really cool stuff, and they're working on a lot of really cool stuff, none of which they're ready to talk about, which is super, super frustrating. Okay, so in October, we're going to talk about a feature we've been working on for new players that we think we will make the new game experience something that we can do better, navigate it. And so this is are you planning one sort of a Jedi Padawan system which permits player with a low level and better play? I don't know what that question is, but the answer is what really got me. So this was fascinating. Okay, so I'm going to read it and I'm going to break it down here. So it goes, that type of system was discussed, yada, yada, yada. We're actually angling to closer to taking some of our core events, so legendaries, journeys, etc., so maybe even marquees, moving them out of a calendar rotation and instead making them a standing event that players could start to interact with whenever they're ready. So think about that. So if at level 20 you could get, I don't know, you probably wouldn't get like a Malik at level 20 because that would make a whole lot of sense. But you start getting more and more characters earlier and earlier on. And instead of having to do legendary events at like this crazy time in the game and you've got to like panic farm, you know when they're coming, right? Now, I love that idea because then what you're thinking is this, I don't know. Ooh, that's a good question, Grayson, and I'll get to that in a second. But what I'm thinking here is they're saying that we want people to make it to end game. We don't want the turnover because their end game is now GAC, relics to an extent. No, not to an extent. Relics, obviously, and whatever's coming down the pipeline. And it sounds like they have a lot of stuff in the works. Now, CG Carey said that. She's like, I always have like a 5-year plan, but, I remember she said, and I hope this wasn't off the record because that would be wrong, but I remember she said, she's like, as a fan, I've got many years planned, but as a, developer, she had to be realistic, and which makes sense, right? But I love that. I effing love that. And I like the idea of introducing some of these earlier characters earlier on, so that new players can get used to them, they can get the benefit. And what's interesting is depending on when they introduce some of those characters, it could really change the way that the meta plays out. And like, for example, if you had a CLS meta, or a CLS introduced at like level 50 versus level like 85, or whatever the highest level is at the time that he was released, that is going to drastically change like the effects of him, the value of him, and not, I don't think it would be a bad way, but it would allow players to get used to it earlier on. So I don't know. I think that this is a really cool idea, and I think that it's something that's going to help the churn rate of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes fans, or players. I mean, because let's face it, there's a lot of us who started the game at launch, and there's a lot of people who've played since launch, and there's a lot of people who've come and gone, but it's kind of like, you don't see very many middle people. You don't see very many people who are like, yeah, I liked playing and I come and go. I mean, there are people out there obviously who do that, but I just don't think that they are that many. Oh, hello, someone's talking to me. Who's talking to? Okay, good. It's not my wife. I mean, not that I don't love my wife, but I don't want her to like say, "Hey, I need you to do something for me," because I'm in the middle of a live stream. But again, the idea is like, hey, we want people to stay as long as they can, and we want the day-to-day to be a little different, right? A little more inclusive, a little more available to more and more people. And I think that is awesome. I think that's awesome. Apparently, they've gotten more computers, which is good because they've needed it. Now, Grayson, you asked a question. Could the new feature be the inclusion system of bigger guilds with new players that don't affect the 50-person cap? What could be interesting here is, I'm going to take you one step further. What could be absolutely fascinating is what we've done as a culture, right, that surrounds this game. We have guilds, but there are guild communities. Like, any of my guys out there, my guys and gals who are in the We With Lives community. I mean, that's the guild that I'm in, or the guild community that I'm in. I am actually in BHAL, BHAL, which I think means basically have a life. I joined like 3 years ago when my community was merged into this one, and I've loved it. It's wonderful, and it's super cool. But it would be awesome if somehow we could have guild community against guild community. I mean, that would be really a cool concept, and would be a neat way to see how some of these guilds work, right? And it'd be pretty cool for someone like the lower guilds to go up against some of those Krakens. I'd love to see that. Now, obviously, I wouldn't want my guild. No offense, guys, but we're just not ready for a huge Kraken battle. But it would be freaking cool, It would be really awesome to see that. It would be awesome to see something of that magnitude. Now, before I go any further, mad props to Takedown Games, who was able to reach 1,000 subscribers. It's huge. It's a great feeling when you can do that, and he's a good guy, and good for him, man. So mad props to you, Takedown. Okay, so moving on. I'm getting slightly distracted here. Aldry, welcome. I've got like 3 water bottles in front of me because I'm fighting a sore throat. The game balance, and they say that, hey, there's a game balance. What happened? I won't get into that one, but they're like, yeah, we're trying, right? We're always looking on special focus on character types that have fallen behind. There's gonna be problems, right? As the power creep happens, characters like Cup are going to fall behind. I mean, granted, if you 7-star Cup, if you gear 13 and then throw on all relics on Cup, you're going to defeat someone who doesn't have a team that goes with that or goes against that. Right? So, let's see, my next one. Hold on, where was it? It was this one, and I thought it was fascinating. So one here, okay? How much of the dev team would normally work on new content for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes was diverted to the new project that was announced? So for those of you who don't know, Capital Games is working on another project dissimilar from Galaxy of Heroes because they don't want the two to compete, right? Which makes sense because Galaxy of Heroes is their moneymaker. They want to bring in another moneymaker that doesn't take from this one, which, fascinating. And so the response is none. Look, it just takes time, okay? But this is what I find fascinating. So they have to model new units, come with new kits balances, tens of combat nodes. Here it is. We're also starting preliminary ideation on a raid. Now, they say no promises, but this comes back up a couple of times. This is CG Top Hat, okay? If you scroll back up all the way to the top, CG Top Hat, he's this fella, and great guy, really nice guy. No, I'm sorry, not Top Hat. Where's Nick? No, that is Nick. I'm pretty sure that's him. But CG Top Hat, he is the live producer, okay? Now, his goal is to keep our expectations in check, right? If they promise big and they deliver short, we're going to hate it, no matter what it is. If they promise big and deliver just short of big, we're still going to hate it. We're still going to be pissed. We're like, you said this was going to be this. So his job is to keep our expectations in check. New raid, March of next year. I'm calling it now, March of next year. But here's the other thing. We're finishing work on the epic confrontation. That is most likely the next thing that's going to come out, and quite possibly come out before Christmas. They are also preparing for episode 9. Okay? That is going to be a major push for them after November, which I don't know that, but it feels like that's going to be very important. So here's the thing. If they're going to be pushing episode 9 content November through March, and they introduce a raid, are we going to need trilogy or sequel trilogy characters? And my thought is yes. My thought is absolutely we will. So if you haven't already, if you're a long-time player, you probably already have your core resistance team. You probably have your core first order team. But passively, as fast as you can, don't pull away from your other farms, from the Geonosian light side, Geonosian territory battle, or dark side territory battle. But I highly focus, or highly think that it is going to be quite possibly Star Killer base. I think that would be cool, but it's if not Star Killer base, it's going to be a mix of both. So keep that in mind. Yeah, Grayson, you're right. With the bonuses in GAC this month, the first order is definitely being hinted at. So I would go through, make sure that all of your first order is 7-starred at the very least. Gear, if you have it, that's fine. I mean, do what you want, but gear is up to you. 7-star should be your lowest level, though. Now, the next one was, I think, a very fascinating question, very important. When designing the dark side Geonosian territory battle, was it tuned to G13 or G12, G13, or R7? Also, can you tell us which side of the light side? And they're not going to, right? But the response is, we tuned the dark side Geonosian territory battle to anticipate relics. And no, we will not tell you when, which makes sense. The idea is light side territory battle is going to be tough. It is going to be a very challenging thing. And I think that it's important for us to remember that when it does come out. And I know it's going to be tough, and this always happens with a new event, with a new game mode or whatever. It's so tough, right? It's ridiculously tough, and the player base gets pissed off, and rightfully so, because they're not expecting it. They're not prepared for it. I'm telling you now, and you should be aware that this is something that you should be aware of. I mean, it's going to be rough, right? You're going to need relics, and that's going to be challenging for those of us who are still trying to. I mean, I'm still trying to get all of my Geonosians all the way up. I'm trying to get my Separatists to 7-star even, or into Gear 12, and so I'm trying to get those teams prepared. And then when light side comes around, I might kind of be ready, but be prepared for this to be difficult and to need relics to dominate it, right? Dark side territory battle, I'm in a fairly, we're a competitive guild. We're an active guild. I wouldn't say we're super competitive. We're a great guild. I love my guild. But I mean, I think we're 2,700,000, something like that. I don't even know. But a lot of people in my guild have relics. Not many people have them 7s to relic 7 R7, but I think I don't know. I think that it's possible for it to be just crazy difficult. Okay, this is another one, and this is one of those things that I think is also fascinating, because this is no longer just a game. It is, obviously. It's a mobile game. It's a lot of fun. Everyone plays it. I say everyone. It's a lot of people play it. But this is what I thought was absolutely brilliant, because Star Wars is more than just fighting. There's politics. There's an economy. There's a society. I mean, again, with the whole, guild communities, that's a society within Star Wars. And then the response here is, because the question is, have you ever considered non-combat related elements to the game, such as politics, economics, and society? I'd suck at economics, just throwing that out there. We always consider story and theme when creating characters content. In fact, we have a pending feature design that seams into iconic Star Wars stories and themes and uses stats and powers of your characters to move through the stories. It's farther down the road for us, though definitely on our radar. So when they say farther down the road, I think 9 months to a year. 9 months is probably when they'd introduce whatever they're talking about here. A year is maybe when we start seeing stuff for it. I think that there's a lot coming, and I think they have a lot of stuff in their mind, especially with Disney just pumping out crap like crazy. Let me make sure that my light's not about to catch fire. The neutral tag still exists, and I've said this there are people who are like, no, the neutral tag doesn't exist anymore. It totally exists. It's there. You can see it. But, whatever. They're like, tell us. Yeah, it exists. They're going to do something with it eventually. So here was one of my favorite questions that was asked, and I'm going to tell you how it was answered, but I'm going to tell you what it really means. Have you considered debunking purported leaks? I think a lot of community frustration can spin up because people put stock in images of unknown origin to fill a void in expectations. Totally true. Totally true. Now the response is, I think it's a long and losing battle to try to debunk every Star Wars Galaxy rumor on the internet. Every rumor on the internet with Star Wars would be crazy, but specifically with this one, it'd still be a lot. Not only would it be time consuming, and they don't have the manpower for it. It stops. This stops. See how this stops devolving into player trying to deduce what is real by asking pointed questions and reading even more into the tea leaves. Right? Okay. Let me turn to my notes real quick, and I'll read you the statement that I feel like what they're really saying here. Okay. Essentially what they're saying is, we think too highly of Thaddeus and his channel to do that to him. Because if we knocked off every single, fan theory out there, he wouldn't have a channel. And they're right, I wouldn't. Because my channel is all about what could happen, not what probably will. Now, I do have some guides and stuff, but those are, few and far between. And it makes sense. They don't have the time or the energy to go out and say, hey, this is a leak, this is not. And by actually saying, hey, this is something that's we know is a leak or something that's totally debunked, we as a player community could say, oh, well, if that's totally debunked, then we can start, piercing through some stuff. And I don't know. I get it. I do. I get why they would not want that to be a thing. So, let's see. Oh, there were some good ones down here. This one. Okay. IPD's Imperial probe droid's self-destructibility is becoming completely obsolete with G13 and relics and making many characters able to survive, his suicide bombing. Let's call it what it is. Is there any consideration to increase him? Now, what's fascinating about this is not particularly with the IPD. It's what it means to all of those other characters, right? Because there's a lot of characters that are going to be left behind with the abilities and stuff, and I don't know. So it says a few very specific damage mechanics have not scaled well with G13, and they've scaled worse with relics. As always, our balance efforts are ongoing, and we'll be looking into the future. Best way to just bring units up to parity. Better to maintain the relevance in the future. So one thing to remember is obviously there's going to be a time and place for every tune. And some of those tunes' time and place will be earlier on in the game. Some will be end game. Most of the time, yeah, that's true. James Lewis says, speculate responsibly. I try to, James. I do. but I get carried away from time to time. I know that. And so, let's see. But I think that that's an important thing to remember. So as you're gearing these characters up, especially some of these lower level characters, and as you're going through the game, look at people who've played before you, look at guides and advice, talk to your guild leaders. Don't start leveling Cup up just because he looks cool. Now, if you are a collector, then by all means, so true. I saw that as well, and it could be. It totally could be. Mara Jade. So for those of you who don't know what I'm laughing about, so I'm looking at the comments. James Lewis says, speculate irresponsibly. Alex from Star Wars explained, like we are getting a Mara Jade because of a bathroom stall. So Star Wars explained, there's a post or a decal of some kind that's in Arabesh posted on a bathroom stall, on the inside door of a bathroom stall. That in Arabesh it says Mara Jade lives. Okay. And he made a video about it that says, does this indicate? Yeah, Galaxy's Edge. So good point. I got to point that out. It's not just in a bathroom stall randomly. It's specifically in Galaxy's Edge. Now, the rest of the bathrooms are clean. It's just this one stall. And so he speculates that that's the first clue of us getting Mara Jade. Now, I do think Mara Jade's coming into the trilogy, or at least her story is coming in. I don't know if it'll be a Mara Jade specifically, but I think Luke's going to have babies and kids or of romantic interest of some kind. Personally, I think the Mara Jade that we're getting is Dr. Aphra. Just throwing that out there, but that's a whole nother thing. We'll see how that plays out. When will the tank be simmable? Okay. Now, again, this is a very interesting thing here because Rancor is simmable, and it bothers me. I love playing the Rancor. I thought it was fascinating that I was able to get CLS and CLS and Raid Han to solo the Rancor in under 5 minutes. That is ridiculous. Like that is crazy. I mean, it's R7 CLS and R7 Han, and they're pretty godly modded, but still, that's insane. That is so crazy fast, and I'm fascinated by it. But I think that they'll give us the tank raid simmable. They said we recently started the analysis of what it means to sim the AT. Something we like to see sometime soon too. Just need to make sure it makes sense. The Sith raid is probably further out. So here's what I'm thinking. Okay. HAT, I would say by the beginning of the new year, they will sim it. I do think that the Sith raid will probably be simmable by June of next year. I mean, and those aren't necessarily wild guesses, but it allows some time to pass between different modes, right? Some different stuff to come in so that older stuff can go out, right? I think that is I think that's important. Now, to the comments here, yes, Mara Jade was bloodthirsty, sexy killer, and Disney's not going to introduce all of her backstory in episode 9. Makes sense. But we still don't know much about Zouri Bliss. We know that she was a friend of Poe Dameron's. We know that she's a light side character. She's actually referred to as a scoundrel in, I think, a book of something like that. But I think that it's possible that Zouri Bliss is the Mara Jade. Now, again, I think it's Zouri Bliss is the Mara Jade. I think Zouri Bliss is another name for Dr. Aphra, because Dr. Aphra works with Vader, and that I'm just thinking that right now. I think also her character type does fit a lot of multiple, I don't know, genres, multiple people. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential there. So, next question, and again, this one's really fascinating. Malik's coming back soon. Can we expect this as the norm, right? Because now that Malik is coming back again, they've actually given us a cadence of sorts for how long it will take. Now, it was, what, like 4 months, 6 months between the first one, and now between this last one and this one, it's only like 6 weeks or something like that. And so, is this a cadence? Now, Top Hat, again, he's the one who's setting proper expectations. We're still working out the formal timeline for the epic confrontations or what they are. Once we have a prescribed way around it, we like to do an update to the character release cadence. So this is really interesting to me because right now, or in the past, what they've done is marquee event or introduce a new character. Send that character to the stores where you can, or the place where you can buy them, and then oh, I hope not. Slave 1 is... Anyways. And so eventually it takes about 3 months for a marquee character into the frame. I wonder if this is going to be something else, something similar to that. And my thought is that yes, they're going to change a lot of different things. Now, especially if you jump back up to the fact that they're taking some of these characters out of rotation. I think what we'll do is we'll see that. I'm going to jump over to the chat real quick and throw my 2 cents. Slave 1 was actually introduced. I don't know if it was decannoned in 2014, but in the Resistance episode, no, not Resistance episode, the comic for Age of Resistance that came out, I think this month. I think what we saw is a moment with Slave 1. And I won't go into detail, but I highly recommend you guys read those. Awesome. Star Wars comics are wonderful. I love what they're doing. I'm very excited to see more. I'm curious to see where they go after this run of the core Star Wars canon, I guess. The core Star Wars whatever. But why is this not working? Why can't I hit enter? Oh, because I unplugged my keyboard. What an idiot. I'm sitting here like, oh, I can't do that. Anyways, so yeah, I think it's possible that we will see more and more awesome stuff from them, and I look forward to it because, yeah, awesome stuff is essentially what it comes down to. Let's see. They've debunked skins. We're not getting skins, so we're not going to be able to change clothes, which, I mean, kind of makes sense because there's a lot of stuff would take, I don't know, take effort, take stuff. And if they were able to, like, reskin a character, then it kind of defeats the purpose of having multiple characters, right? Now, I could see where they all kind of jumped into one, right? So, like, all Hans, you could rotate through the Hans if you had unlocked them all to save, like, screen space. But I don't know. They're not going to do that anytime soon. Now, you stated that you wanted to move away from arenas as a main source of crystals, which that's exactly what it is with GAC as a replacement. How would that work? Would arena even be relevant? And that's a valid question because once GAC is here, I mean, do you need the one-on-one? Right? And so they're saying, yes, we do. We're still going to continue with this. We're still going to work on that. But because of some of the technical difficulties, so I'm assuming like binary, whatever they write in their languages, it's a problem. And so they're like, we can't address it just yet. We've got to figure some other stuff out. But it looks like that with all of that, it seems to me like what they're saying here is, the Noghri were in Rebels. What we're seeing here, Rook was also in Star Wars Alliance, or Thrawn Alliance. What we're seeing here, though, is the first point of admittance that they're like, look, we also know that the Grand Arena Championships rewards aren't great, right? They're not saying right off the bat, look, they suck, and they're not necessarily implying it, but it sounds like they're aware of it. It sounds like they're like, hey, yeah, we get that. We get that this is something that needs to be adjusted. And especially if they're moving forward with whatever, this has got to be addressed. And later on in the story, later on in the Q&A, it totally is. Here's the other thing. And this is actually asked a couple of times in a few different ways. But does the dev team get early information about TV shows, movies, comics? The answer is yes, but we can't tell you. How far into the future does your plan go? And this is what I like. This is what I'm very happy to hear. And again, it's always positive for me, especially when they spend 2 weeks without very much communication. Then, oh man, so they're like, look, we know what we're doing a year in advance. They have a solid idea. Now things will change, but they're like, we know what's coming up for the next year, right? As plans go even further out, we have a roadmap. We have an idea, right? Like, they have it planned. And of course, things are going to change. They might accidentally create a meta that is so game-breaking that something has to be done immediately. Like a new game mode has to be dropped or a new idea has to be changed. Something. I don't know. But I really think that this is... They've said it before, and I said it earlier tonight. This brings me hope, right? After weeks of being incommunicado, it's nice to know that, yeah, they're still good. And then Eric, so that was Top Hat. Eric says this: we've got many years worth of ideas for features and characters in the backlog, and we keep coming up. There's no shortage. Current plans in the game right now, we've got a detailed the next couple of years. Eric says we've got a detailed roadmap for the next couple of years. There are also new features we hope to launch in one of the next title updates that will need grow over time and be supported with future content. Now, what does that mean? I don't think that this is specifically referring to the Epic Confrontation. I think this is some other kind of mode that they're going to introduce. Maybe a new currency, a new addition of some kind that is going to have weight to it, that is going to be essential for the future of the game. And I'm excited. I think that's really cool. Now it jumps into the economy. Let me jump over to my notes real quick, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Oh, before I jump, no, I'll cover that in a second. Hold on. All right. Now, this is an interesting one, and it's right off the bat in the economy. And typically, economy is something that I don't necessarily care about. But why did you choose to put signal data on modes without character shards as well? All this does is create a further divide between new players and old players. You have to choose between farming shards for much needed characters or farming data for relics. And yeah, but they've said from the beginning. Now, if you're a new player, you may not know this. Even if you're a year old, they, with the communication lately, they may not have said this. But they're like, look, we did this on purpose. We don't want you farming resources that you can't use in your specific timeline. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Now, yeah, and they say there's an argument to be prepared for G13, and that makes sense. But think about someone who's at like gear 12, getting, G12 I said gear 12, sorry, level 20, right? Getting G12 finishing pieces, and they're going to hold on to that for all that time. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, maybe once they get to like level 50, maybe once they get to level 80, that makes more sense as they progress. But brand new players probably shouldn't have a huge stockpile of these high-end pieces. And they want to make it a difficult choice, right? Which, again, they've said from the beginning, do you continue to grow your roster, or do you double down on the characters you have? Is the fundamental choice. And personally, I've said this before, I am a collector. I love collecting characters. It's fun for me. I love it. I do. And it's not super beneficial. It's not the most beneficial thing at all. But I like the characters I have, and so it makes sense for me. Now, jump down to content. This is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. We want a sandbox mode or a way to practice our teams against guildmates. Why won't you give us this? This is one of the community's top requests. Yeah. Characters are shiny. Then they respond as much. They're like, look, it's one of the most popular requests from players inside the studio as well. An engaging sandbox feature is an important part of the future feature set for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And while we cannot tell you exactly when this feature will make it to the holotables, we can tell you with certainty that a plan for this feature is in the books. Okay? Now, what does that mean? If it's in the books, I'd say 2 years at the most. And that sucks to hear. I don't like the idea. But still, it's one of those things that they're going to do, right? They have to develop they have to spend the time and spend the energy to do it. Now, I've got to give mad props to, let me jump over to my Discord real quick. His name is Crosshair or Crossshare, and he's actually helped me come up with a number of ideas for my videos. And one of the things that he suggested, and I think that this is absolutely fascinating, is let me jump over real quick to every time I've got like 3 keyboards in front of me and none of them are working. I think there's a lot of potential for a sandbox, and I really like. Actually, is it Crosshair? Hold on, Crosshair. If I'm giving you credit on accident, I'm sorry. No, it's you. Yeah, it's you. Sorry, I'm like figuring out all my stuff. He's been like super helpful with a lot actually, and I'm grateful for it. But now I'm rambling. But that's part of who I am. There's a lot that could be done. There's a lot that could be done with a sandbox mode, and most people want one. I think of. Oh no, this is what he said. This was his idea. If you could play either a territory war or a territory battle or a GAC against yourself, right? So once you've set your team, once you've done what you've done, if you could actually go back and figure and just play against what you've done. Now it's a slight deviation from like the whole replayability, so like to rewatch the game mode or rewatch the event, but actually go back and play through it, but from the defensive perspective, right? To play through it with the characters that your team had. That would be very insightful as to I don't know, as to a lot of what you could be doing. I think it's absolutely fascinating. I really do. And I think, but it's cool though that they're saying, hey, look, yeah, we're working on it. Will we get new contents for ships? Yes. Our plan for the upcoming year includes new ways to play and experience Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. So what does that mean? So if you're not playing battling, what are you experiencing? And so I'm wondering if that politician economy type thing plays into it somehow. And in ways that include ships. Additionally, you can expect ship battles to appear in the next epic confrontation. What does that mean, guys? I mean, that means get your ships to where they don't suck. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out ships. I'm not figuring out, I just don't put the effort into it. Right? If I sat down and actually played more than like 2 battles a day, I would be, I'd be fine. But I don't. I actually don't. And it's my own fault. I won't blame anyone else. It's just me. But yes, epic confrontation, GAC, and yes, our upcoming raid in their current plan. So what does that tell me? Upcoming raid, 2 ideas, Death Star, which would be awesome. Somewhere where it was like indoor and in space, then, the actual Death Star. Or something to that effect. Or Starkiller Base. That's just what I'm thinking currently. I mean, I could see Starkiller Base, but I don't know. Jumping over to the questions here. With all the updating they're doing, do you feel like they are bugging the game too much? They're not fixing the problem like the quests line up for the energy order or consumption, to name some. With all the bugs that are going on, with all the updating that has gone on, I actually think that a lot of the bugs are just in until they put all the materials in. If that makes sense. So the way that I'm viewing it is like it's a puzzle, a moving puzzle that like you put in the different cogs and it does stuff. But some cogs won't work as effectively until other cogs are put into place. And so that's why we're seeing bugs right now, because there's still stuff coming. And that's what I'm thinking. I have no idea. Will there be a new raid by the end of 2019? No. In the first part of 2020, that's currently the plan. First part of 2020. Now here's the thing. Here's what you got to keep in mind. The first part of 2020 for us, obviously, is the first January, February, March. But their first part, their fiscal year, is starting in April. So the question becomes, do they want to end on a high note, like in March, with introducing a new raid and introducing new ways for people to spend money, or do they start on a high note? So my thought is they're going to end on a high note, March the latest, into February. That's my thought. And if they ask me to go out to, if anyone from Capital Games is watching, if you ask me to come out, or if you just want me to be part of like a live stream where you introduce it to like players and stuff, I'm down. I'll make arrangements. Also, I'll also be in California. So in late January, in February. So if you're watching, guys, I'm here for you. I am here for you. I will make a deviation to my plans just to spend a day with you guys. Plus, it was really cool out in Sacramento. Really fun. Let's see. End of the year. Have you guys thought about presets? Now, this is one that I like, and I'm also pretty sad about. And you guys have been talking about the Nogri in the chats here. Could content ever come from the extended universe or legacy books? So TIE Defenders, Nogri, Zinj, Kyle Katarn, Corran Horn, Dash Rendar. Now, we do have TIE Defenders in extended universe, which, very possible. We have them in the Nogri in the extended universe again. We don't have a Kyle Katarn or Corran Horn or Dash Rendar as of yet. We've seen Dash Rendar's ship, or ship model. We saw it in Star Wars Rebels, which was like the strangest episode. But the answer is maybe. Like that's not a maybe. Maybe? Like that's the way that I'm taking this. This is not a positive maybe. This is a I don't know. Currently we're not thinking about it. And here's the other thing, like with so much coming in, right? With episode 9, Disney Plus, and still missing other beloved characters from the main canon, it'll be a while before we start picking at this content. Okay? So again, that's their 10-year plan down the road, right? What does this tell me? Episode 9 is going to be a major focus over the next 6 months. We could see episode 9 content as soon as, balls. We could see episode 9 content as soon as like this month. We don't really know. I don't think we will, but we could. I think that we will see episode 9 content starting in November and moving through December. I think we'll see a lot of stuff, and that's when they'll start transitioning to episode 9. If you look back last year, November, December, January, February, that's when they transitioned to like C-3PO. I guess you did have a little bit of, you had the scoundrel build up, you had the bounty hunter build up last year, and then the bounty hunter built up to, what's his face, Chewie and C-3PO, and that led into, what we have now. But I don't know. I'm thinking that it's very possible that we'll start getting a lot of this stuff. Now, Disney Plus, I could see, I don't know. I think that we won't see Disney Plus stuff until probably early next year, unless they start coming out with marquee events. Now, that would be really cool for us to get marquee events as the story is unfolding. I think that would be absolutely fascinating. They'd have to be careful. My thought is they'll probably wait till the end or towards the end of the first season of The Mandalore before they give us anything really solid, but I think it's very possible. But yeah, so it'll be a while before I start picking at the other stuff, right? Now, the thing here to mention is main canon characters, okay? If you jump over to, let me pull it up real quick. If you jump over to the that image that I made a speculation video about, let me bring it up. New loading screen. Yeah. This fella, right? If you were to look at this and you see, someone pointed out that they think this is not CLS, but this is Jedi Luke. Now, if this is Jedi Luke, then it's very possible that we could be seeing a I don't know. It could be possible that we could be seeing this as one of those fan favorite games or fan favorite characters that we don't have in the game. And if that's the case, I absolutely hope that they add him. I think that would be cool, especially if they do something like a Death Star raid. He would be needed. I mean, come on. Absolutely would need to be needed. Now, next question, I thought that this was actually funny, and this one's talking about, will there be any mythic tiers for Rancor, HAT or STR? And I gotta say, I was a little disappointed in the answer, mostly because I wanted a mythic Rancor. I wanted a mythic HAT and STR. But they said, look, we learned a lot from the Sith raid, and we have to really balance what's either coming up with a new raid or working on old ones. And let's face it, I mean, as much as I'm like the only person who wants a new Rancor raid, I'm probably the only person who wants a mythic Rancor raid. But the idea here is that they're going to give us a new one. So mythic tier kind of going to be on the back burner for a long while, if we ever get one. You know, I think that might have been one of those things they were thinking about, really liking the idea of, but then maybe some data showed up and they're like, oh, you know, stuff happens and life's different. Here they confirm that the Geonosian Lightside territory battle will include the Reek and Nexu. That shouldn't be a surprise. That was actually something they talked about a couple of days ago, but this question could have been, you know, it could have been submitted a while ago. What era of Star Wars are the tunes coming from next? Resistance animated series, Rise of Skywalker, Fallen Order. Top Hat may have already covered this, but if not, we are presently focused on characters and content surrounding Rise of Skywalker, as well as episodes 7 and 8. So when I say that new content is coming from the sequel trilogy, that's what I mean here, guys. I think that we're going to see a lot of those characters that we haven't seen yet. Episode 7, Episode 8. I think we could see a projection of Snoke. I think we could see Hux. I think that's very possible. Someone mentioned in one of the videos the other day that they'd love to see Cardinal added. Now, if you guys haven't read the Captain Phasma book, or if you haven't read the new one, Galaxy's Edge, Black Spire, Cardinal's one of the main characters in both of those, and he's a really great character. In my opinion, a more dynamic character than Phasma. I like him a lot more, but definitely Pahan, welcome. But I think that we could be getting quite a few more of those characters. We could be getting new ships. If they're going to be introducing vehicles lately, we could get those skimmers, those skiffs that you saw on Crate. Very possible. I think there's a lot of stuff that is in the works that we should be excited about. Like I'm stoked. Now, here's the thing, guys. I'm choosing to be excited because this is something that I like, and I'm not going to be a defeatist when it comes to this, because then I don't want to be defeated about the game. It's something that I want to see. Let's see, gear, character content. So one thing here too, and I thought this was really interesting. They're like, "Hey, are you going to give us as many, as many ships as you do with characters?" And the answer was that no. Yeah, speak softly and drive a big tank, which makes sense. So ships are going to be, and this is what I think is going to happen, okay? And this is what I think should happen, but I also think that it will happen. Ships and vehicles will just become one, and you will have ground ships and space vehicles, flying vehicles. And so I think that's what we're going to see. So in this, are we going to be getting 100 ships? The answer is no. But could we be getting, I don't know, could we be getting ships and stuff, or vehicles with that? I don't know. They do say that the raid, in this question, they do say the raid they're working on is in early stages, and they say very early. But they say that they do have ships. Again, this is Top Hat, and he's trying to set expectations. So I'd take him at his word here, but I think that we could be seeing something play out. I'm still shooting for March. I really think that's what they're going to be doing. Are they going to be adding more relic levels? Yes, eventually, because it is a new tier system. Hopefully, gearing will become easier. And not as competitive. Not as competitive. I still want it to be competitive. I still want it to be, I don't know. I still want it to be something that's challenging. Because if it's not challenging, why even do it? Why play if there's no room for growth? There's no room for competitiveness. But they still haven't introduced like relic abilities. So I'm waiting for them to do that. Because right now they're like, look, we're not going to do anything yet. But who knows? It took them 2 months to add relics after after G13. Here is an interesting question. With the ability to scrap gear, now we'll be able to see the ability to craft gear without needing it for a character. So their response is, we are currently designing a way to craft any gear without going through the characters. We are trying to address it holistically to generally improve the experience in the game, which I love. I think that is brilliant, and I am looking forward to that because I don't know. Vincinius Reyes says that they'll probably wait for the next epic confrontation to introduce new abilities to relics. I think you're probably right. I do. I think you're probably right. Now, here's one, guys, that I absolutely think is fascinating. Okay. And you can dive in and break this down a lot. Okay. Do you, speaking to the group as a whole, have any characters with relics? And if so, who and why? They don't tell you why, but they tell you who. Okay. The response is absolutely fascinating. I'm proud to say that my first relic on my entirely free-to-play account went to Wicket, and my next will go to Ewok Elder. Crumb says Jedi Knight Revan, still my most powerful team at the moment, but I was considering Boba, of course. Bastila Fallen, Bosk, I'm deciding which Chewbacca to put it on. Now that is an interesting question, because then you're like, well, which Chewbacca is he working towards? Is he doing I don't know. Then they make a joke about Chewbacca bros, whatever. But like, which Chewbacca? I mean, Clone Wars Chewbacca, if he may be viable with a relic, and that could be a very interesting. Yeah, and Vincinius Race says relic Vandor Chewie is amazing, and even without a relic, he's pretty good on the right teams. Clone Wars Chewie, hands down. Let's see. Now this is another thing, and I'm gonna start wrapping up here in a few minutes. Just holy crap, it's 12. Can we get a signal data heist like we got Mod Salvage heist after Mod Salvage introduction? So they're still evaluating it, but right now they don't have an idea. I would love this. I think that anything like that is, I think, important to add to the game. I think it helps players, I don't know, build stuff. It's just great, and I think it's kind of a I don't know. I think it's a good idea. There's a lot of here. Let's see. Jumping over to the quality of life. I know I've skipped a lot. Let's see. So what are you guys thinking? They do have an amazing backlog. They have a ton of stuff that they've worked on that I'm super fascinated about. They're not going to run both territory battles at once, which makes sense. They are working on an inventory system, right? That you don't have to go into the characters for. You can see what's going on. Let's see. There's a few others that I thought were really fascinating. Could you sell unwanted mods right from your inbox? I really effing hope so. This actually makes me think of something I'd like to take as a part of a quality of life update, either as an automatic system or one players can control to automatically sell mods below a certain quality point before they ever hit the. That's wonderful. I would love that. I think that that would be great. Now, I'm not going to go over mechanics because, they're specific and as good as these questions are, I'm just not going to delve into them. Let's jump. When I looked at this and I was like, all right, because I asked the question, right? Are we getting any Mando love? Reskinned question. I mean, 2, when are you dropping this event, right? When are you giving us this stuff? And I do think they are going to be giving us a lot of stuff for the Mandalorians here soon. Sorry if you guys are hearing this. Here was my question. When is insert specific character coming out? JK. But seriously, Hondo. Yes. And it's a great question. So, let's jump over to the answer. And I believe it was on page number 3. You had to do some research to get some of these answers. I was going through it after work, or after I got back from a meeting this afternoon, and I was like, "Oh, they didn't answer my question. How sad!" And then, oh, this was actually pretty funny. Here, let me scroll down. Oh no, it's on page 2. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of potential here. Apparently, they don't drink. This guy particularly doesn't drink a lot of CG's Finn, doesn't drink Mountain Dew anymore, or pop, which makes me distrust him immediately. But he does like coffee, apparently, which, fine. Broderick Jones, here it is. Here's my response, CG's Finn. Now remember, this is the guy that I just said I don't trust. We've got some huge Hondo fans in the office, and right now, there's a huge painting of him and his pirates in the lobby, so he's never far from our thoughts. No answer for now on Hondo, but anything's possible. Okay, guys, 2 years ago, when they introduced, that was 2 years ago, holy crap. 2 years ago when they introduced the STR, they flew me and the other Game Changers out when there was a Game Changers program. And they toured the office. There wasn't a ton of stuff that I was like, oh, that's really cool. But the picture of Hondo on the tank with his pirates, I thought was the coolest thing in the world. And I've been holding on to that. I've been like not saying anything. It's been eating me up inside. Because like I think about it, it's like, holy crap. Like they love Hondo. I am so happy that he said this. Also, I want a picture of that because it is awesome. It is the coolest freaking thing. So it's Hondo with his pirates. It's so cool. It is so cool. I love it. And it gives me hope. This painting, coupled with the fact that they have like a 2-year roadmap in store already, and then years down the road for other stuff, I'm stoked. I freaking love Hondo. I do. I think he's awesome. I think there's so many good characters in this game, and not just the game, the universe. Like it's so hard to go through this thing and just not love a freaking character, not find one that you're just like, I love this guy. Now, I'm going to end here, guys. Now, Triple Force Friday. They don't answer it, or at least I haven't found an answer to it yet. Okay? Any plans for Triple Force Friday event? Now, for those of you who don't know, Triple Force Friday is the Friday event where they launch all the toys and all the stuff for the new season of Star Wars stuff. And there's Funko, and I don't know. There's a lot of really cool stuff on the line, and I'll probably go to Walmart or Target and buy crap that I don't need. But I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they did do something for this, right? If they gave us a discount on crystals, if they gave us a discount on whatever. Now, I'm not saying that you should wait till Friday to buy anything. I mean, if you're going to spend money in the game, spend money in the game. If you're not, then don't. You know, up to you. It's your call, your prerogative. You do you. But I don't know, man. If crystals go on sale like a really deeply discounted price, I might be tempted to drop $20. I might. There's just, I don't know, guys. Like I think that's the best way. I think that's the best way to spend money in the game. Buy crystals. I am absolutely stoked. I want more information. Of course I do. I haven't been able to go through all of this because, 6 pages at this point, 5 pages at this point, right? And so there's a lot of information to digest. Oh, okay. So far, sorry guys, not last question. This is the last one. Seriously though, can you either give us Return of the Jedi Luke or take him off the loading screen? Jedi Knight Luke is pretty cool. He converts Darth Vader to the light side and isn't afraid of anything. So he definitely has a chance to make it into the game, which, I mean, they've said for years. New splash screen art is always fun too. And the run-up to a new film seems like a great opportunity to refresh there. Okay? So, maybe, that's true. Maybe, just maybe, this is that picture, that splash screen was what we're seeing, or what we will see as a run-up to the game, as a run-up to the new films. Very possible. Very, very possible. Now, guys, I'm going to take off because it's way past my bedtime, but there was just so much to digest and so much to talk about that I wanted to get on here and just chat. I love doing this, and thank you for your support, guys. My channel's actually seen an increase lately, and it's been a lot of fun to see that jump back up to where it was at one point. And it's been really fun to do these videos. And tomorrow, I'm not going to have a voice, and it's also going to be fun. But I love this game. I love Star Wars, and I'm choosing to be positive about it because it's just easier that way. It's better for me that way. And I don't want this game to negatively affect me. Yeah, there's challenging times. There's tough times. There's things I wish changed. But it's a fun game, and I love it. But, guys, if there's something that you picked up that I missed, let me know in the chat. Leave a comment in the section below. In the section below, there is a link to Audible. I 3,000% recommend you to try out that link to Audible. Not just because it helps me with the channel. Every time you subscribe, even for a free trial, I get a little bit of kickback. But there's some great audiobooks. And if you drive, if you cut your grass, if you shovel snow, whatever, give it a shot. There's some great audiobooks, and Star Wars has some phenomenal ones. Right now I'm listening to Darth Plagueis, and it's, I don't know, it's good. It's really interesting. It's not canon anymore, but I think that there's a lot of stuff that's being added. Anyways, I'm out of here, guys. Like, subscribe, share. Let me know what you guys think. This has been Thaddeus from Going Nerdy, and as always, my friends, smile and stay nerdy.